Welcome back to the Weekly Huddle YouTube channel. Today, I'm going to be going through an experiment I ran for you guys and just discussing the data I collected. I went back through the last 10 NFL draft classes and picked out the quarterbacks and went through and chose 16 quarterbacks I deemed to be successful. Now, the 2022 one doesn't really count towards this because that is the focus of the current experiment, is that I went through the 9 previous to that, picked out 16 quarterbacks from those classes combined, and I took different traits and measurables and things like that, and I averaged them out and really put values to them using ESPN Insider scouting reports, their mock draftable measurements, and the situations that they came into as rookies for their rookie years. And I really set that up, and I wanted to see where these other quarterbacks in 2022 matched those trend lines, averaged out by these 16 good quarterbacks. Now, there's going to be some variables, especially like the measurables and things like that. And you might be wondering why I picked 16. I was just the 16 I believed were the most successful. And in the case of if there's a tie, say like I went to go do an average and it came out to a tie, RG3 is one of the quarterbacks in 2012, and if he was a part of a tie, which he would have been because it would have been all the quarterbacks, I would remove him because, yes, he was a good quarterback prospect and a good quarterback player until injuries really derailed his career, and he was never really the same since. So I did add RG3 into this because I believe that if he wasn't sidetracked by poor management and bad injuries, he would have been one of the better quarterbacks drafted in the last 10 years. However, because of those injuries, I decided that if there was a tie, he'd be the first to go. He's kind of the wobble base if you're a chemistry major, like, not myself, I'm a chemistry minor, but if you ever learn about codons, a wobble base is the base that can change, and most of the data won't, or most of the data in this case for our experiment, but most of the protein structure won't change because of that. There's a small change to that. So that is going to be RG3 contingency for this, and it only will show up like once or twice throughout this entire experiment. And yeah, so the quarterbacks I chose were Andrew Luck, RG3, Ryan Tannehill, Russell Wilson, Kirk Cousins. Those are all from 2012. I didn't choose any from 2013. Like there was E.J. Manuel, Geno Smith. That was that year. I didn't really want to pick anybody from there. 2014, I chose Derek Carr and Jimmy Garoppolo. I passed on 2015. I know Jameis and Marcus Mariota had some good years statistically, especially Jameis, and Marcus had some good W's under his belt and went to the playoffs, but I wouldn't consider either of them like real successful quarterbacks in the way that I consider all the rest of them are. For 2016, I did just Dak Prescott. Goff and Wentz, I still don't think I could pick any of these 16 quarterbacks over them. I probably would. There'll probably be one controversial pick in there, but we'll get to that. 2017, I picked Mahomes, Watson. 2018, I chose Allen and Jackson. I chose not to include Mayfield just because I feel as though he's still the jury's still out on him as a quarterback player, and if he's still going to be a starter in this league. 2019, Kyler, obviously. 2020, Joe Burrow and Justin Herbert. And then this is going to be the more controversial one. 2021, I chose Mac Jones just because he had some good success his rookie year. I was almost going to add Davis Mills in there, but I thought that adding the odd number would, it would kind of take away the purpose of the RG3 thing. Maybe it would have just caused that not to be an issue at all. This is the first time I'm doing this. I'm hoping to do this again come around next season. And so, yeah, I took those 16 quarterbacks, and I took their measurables, which will be the first category we go to. Then I took their ESPN Insider grades and things like that. And then also I took their different, I boiled down to the situations they came into as their rookie years and made it into like a yes-no kind of thing with some of the more important aspects of what they came into. And I really tried to see where, like, maybe it's not the most, like, you'll see, I'll explain when I get there, but like some things maybe won't make sense as to why you would want to have that as a prospect, but it's just a trend line. We're just trying to see which one of these quarterbacks fit the trend lines. Real quick, despite what the answer to this may or may not be, this will just prove that I'm not going to base all of my assumptions on who's going to be good off this experiment. I've always been a Malik Willis guy. No matter what this experiment puts out, if it is Malik Willis, it'll just support me. If it's not, I still will stand ground and say Malik Willis will be the best quarterback out of this draft class, but we'll see. We'll see what happens once we put all the data in. So follow me along as we go over and do the measurable section of this. So Measurables was a bit tricky because none of the 2022 draft quarterbacks ran 3 cones or 20 shuttles, so I averaged them out for the NFL quarterbacks that I already are playing, not the current rookies. But we're not going to really factor in those numbers just because the 2022 quarterbacks didn't even participate in that. Whereas, and also the broad, the vertical, and the 40 time, Tannehill, Lamar, Kyler, Burrow didn't participate in any of those. And only 3 of the quarterbacks on this draft class participated them in the combine or the pro day or anything like that. So I'll still count those data points, but we'll have to take it with a grain of salt. Shocker, it's not really going to impact the outcome of the measurable ones. Just a little spoiler there. And I also went through and did the measurables with and without RG3 just to see if it would make any big difference. The only differences it made was a half an inch on height and 0.03 seconds off the 40 time, and half an inch on the vertical, and half an inch on the broad. So not much, and like I said, the vertical, 40 time, and broad were kind of not putting as much stock into those as the rest of them are because only 3 quarterbacks participated in it, but I still will count them. So yeah, first up, with age, it's the same with and without RG3. It was 22.6, and one of the quarterbacks hit that age right on the head from the day I was doing it, based on what they... I guess it was a kind of a formula we used on the Dynasty Index to figure out their age numbers, but yeah, based on the day I did it, this person was bang on, and it was close enough that I think they'll be the closest when this is posted as well. Next up, we had height, and this one I had to do a little bit of math because I did like the 3/8 and things like that, and I just had to subtract and figure out who was actually closest because no one was bang on the height. 2 quarterbacks tied for the with RG3 height, and when the without RG3 height goes up to, it was 6'2", and then without RG3, it was 6'2.5". A different quarterback was closer when I went to 6'2.5". So I gave him a point as well. So 3 quarterbacks total got the point despite 2 different data points, but we'll discuss that later once I get the results out for you. The weight was the same at 221 pounds. A single quarterback got that one. The BMI overall was 28.1 in both of them, and 1 quarterback got that. Arm length didn't change between the 2. It was 32 inches, and 1 quarterback hit the nail right on the head there. And the hand size was 9 5/8, and the quarterback hit the nail right on the head there. The 40 time was exactly the same as one of the NFL rookies this year. The broad, vert, and 40 actually was all hit by the same player. And like I said, their 40 was dead on the same. And like I said, there was only 3 quarterbacks that actually did these testings. So take out those numbers with a grain of salt. But yeah, those are our numbers. And let me just go through and tell you who finished where. With 0 points in the measurable category, Bailey Zappi from the New England Patriots. He had 0 of the matching categories. Also with 0 was Sam Howell, quarterback Washington Commanders. Also came up with 0 points. Matt Corral finished with 2. He was the one that matched with the RG3 less height measurable. He was closest to the 6'2.5" measure. He also finished with the exact hand size that all the rest of the average out to, both RG with and without RG3. Kenny Pickett had 3 points. He was the one who matched the 40 vert and broad, so he came out with 3 points. Desmond Ridder of the Atlanta Falcons had 1 point. He matched the height, along with one other guy we are yet to get to, and that was the with RG3 height, the 6'2". He was close. He was 6'3" and 3/8", and the other player that matched him was also 6'3" and 3/8". Malik Willis also finished with only 1, which was the weight. He was the closest, only 2 pounds off of our 221 weight measurement. And the quarterback who takes it with the measurables, who was considered a top quarterback but kind of fell in the draft because of injuries, with 4 points was Carson Strong. Bang on with the age, same amount of distance away from the first RG3 height with Desmond Ridder. He had the BMI 0.1 off, and the arm length he was dead on. So right now, the undrafted free agent quarterback Carson Strong, who fell out of draftable because they were worried about his knee condition, but who has all the talent in the world outside of that, is currently taking the lead with our measurable category. But we will see if any other quarterbacks can tie it up in round 2, which is going to be the NFL Insider's grade comparisons. All right, so now this is the part where I compared all of the players in the rookie class this year with the average kind of... it's hard way to put this. I went through on ESPN Insider, and I looked up the scouting reports for every single one of these players. And the way ESPN Insider grades them is they give them on a scale of 1 to 5. 1 is exceptional, 2 is above average, 3 is average, 4 is below average, and 5 is marginal. Now, I wanted to look at it as a pro thing, so I took a 1 or a 2 as a yes. They had that pro in their scouting report, whereas a 3, 4, and 5, average to marginal, I didn't see that as like, oh, that's a pro in their game. It was average and or a bad part of their game. So, with that, I went over and did arm strength, accuracy, processing, pocket presence, production, and durability. And I went through and just collected all the yeses or nos. And this is where the 1RG3 thing came into factor. He broke the tie on accuracy. It was a clean 8 and 8, but he was a point for yes. So it turned out accuracy at the college level turned out to be a no. That is the trend that came out with these good quarterbacks. So it was a yes, 10 to 8 for arm strength, a no, 7 to 8 with the RG3 wobble for accuracy, a yes, 12 to 4 processing, a yes, 9 to 7 pocket presence, a yes in production, and a no for durability, 7 to 9 with durability. So if you were graded by ESPN Insider as having a 3, 4, or 5 in your durability category, then it will be kind of positive for you. Weirdly, like, you don't want a quarterback to have durability concerns, but the trend of these quarterbacks that are coming out that were successful had durability concerns according to ESPN Insider. So with those with our trends laid out and our averages shown, let's go through and talk about who finished the lowest. We had 3 quarterbacks finish 3 out of 6. First up, we have Bailey Zappi from the Patriots. He finished with a 3 out of 6. His pluses were a yes for production, a yes for pocket presence, and a yes for processing. He was a yes in accuracy, but you wanted a no there. He was a no in arm strength, and a yes for durability, which you also wanted a no. The other quarterbacks that finished 3 out of 6 was Kenny Pickett. He had a no for arm strength, which missed, a yes for accuracy, which missed, a yes for processing, a yes for pocket presence, and a yes for production, which all hit. He also had a yes for durability, which was a miss. And our final 3 out of 6 was Malik Willis for the Tennessee Titans. He had a yes for arm strength, he had a yes for accuracy, which was a miss, he had a yes for processing, which I didn't totally agree with, but I'm just going off what ESPN Insider to keep it consistent. He had a yes for processing, which was a good thing. He had a no for pocket presence, which was a miss. He had a yes for production, which was a hit, and a yes for durability, which was a miss. Moving on from that, we had 3 4 out of 6 quarterbacks. Sam Howell had a yes for arm strength, a yes for accuracy, a yes for processing, a yes for pocket presence, a yes for production, and a yes for durability. So you had yeses all the way down the board, but you want to have those no's in accuracy and durability to match the trend lines with these quarterbacks. So that's why you ended up with a 4 out of 6. Matt Corral had a yes in everything but processing and durability. So he had a yes for accuracy, which was a negative knock against him. He had a no for processing, which was a negative knock against him. So that's why he finished with a 4 out of 6. And now we have Carson Strong and Desmond Ridder. Carson Strong finished first in our measurables. And they originally both also graded out with a 4 out of 6. But to make it more accurate, I had to do, for the pocket presence one, there wasn't a specific... They put pocket mobility in together, because I already did the athleticism with the measurables, with those testing numbers, even though some quarterbacks didn't really do it. So the way they graded it on ESPN Insider was basically, it was mobility plus pocket presence. So I had to go through and read their actual summaries to see, okay, yes, are they saying that they're good in the pocket with sensing pressure, or are they just saying they can move the ball on the ground? So I had to go through and read all of them. So I initially had Desmond Ridder as a no in pocket presence. So he was a yes in arm strength, a no in accuracy, a yes in processing, a no initially in pocket presence, a yes in production, and a yes in durability, which led him with a 4 out of 6. Whereas Carson Strong had a yes in arm strength, yes in accuracy, yes in processing, no in pocket presence, yes in production, and no in durability. But to break the tie and make it not a 4-way tie, I went back and read Desmond Ridder's account, because I was kind of torn on him when I first wrote it, because it said he did really well against the blitz and stepping into pressure. However, he wasn't the best at feeling pressure from behind him. So I thought, okay, I would feel like this is an above average trait for him, because he was able to be very effective against the blitz and under pressure with that. So I eventually turned it up, gave him a yes, and that broke the tie, giving Desmond Ridder the 5 out of 6 and taking the ESPN Insider grade comparisons in the trend line. So right now it's 1 for Carson Strong and 1 for Desmond Ridder, as we go into our final category, where we could have a third quarterback come out of nowhere and tie it all up, and then those 3 will have to battle it out in the regular season, or we may have one of those 2 pull away. So we'll see when we get to the impact where their draft position has on them with the different categories there. Okay, so finally, I went through and picked out 11 different categories to rank these, well, when they were rookie quarterbacks, the previous quarterbacks, and get their yes-no averages out there, to try to see how their different landing spots and the things they had around them and their situations impacted them as rookies. Except for one of them, so I really did 10. One of them I had to do a little finagling with, but I think I figured it out. The first category is first-year head coach. It averaged out to having a no. The next one was having a Pro Bowl wide receiver on the roster. So it meant a wide receiver who just qualified for the Pro Bowl ever played for them their rookie year. It was mostly they were mostly starters, and they had their Pro Bowl recently. So it kind of worked out that way. But yeah, it was just any time at all Pro Bowl wide receiver in their starting lineup. Same thing, it went with Pro Bowl O-lineman. Then it was first-year offensive coordinator. So Pro Bowl O-lineman was a yes. I'm sorry I didn't mention that. And it was a no for first-year offensive coordinator. It was a yes for expectations to start year one. And that's going to be a subjective thing for me and what I've been reading and how I personally feel about how these QB situations. So that was probably going to be the most subjective thing in this entire thing, where I'm going to have to tell you if I think they're going to be starting year one or expect to start year one sometime. So we'll get into that more as we talk about the different players. That their defense ranked top 16 in the league their rookie year, or for this one, it would be whatever team the rookies are playing for, they did it the year previous, and we're just transplanting those numbers to their rookie year. The way I did that was I took the number they got against the where they ranked against against yards allowed, I apologize, and where they also ranked with points allowed, put those two numbers together, divided by 2 to average it, and if it came in the top 16, that's when I took that number as them being the top 16 defense, and that came out to a no. They were a top 16 team in not allowing sacks, and that came out to a yes. The team had a Pro Bowl quarterback on the roster within the past 3 seasons, and that was a yes. And the reason I took that is because I wanted to see if these teams that these rookies got drafted to had this expectation of having good quarterback play precede them, so that they come in and had big shoes to fill, as opposed to a team that brought a rookie quarterback in who hasn't had a good quarterback in forever, like kind of how Baker Mayfield was for the Browns. Similar to Josh Allen and the Bills, but they kind of had Tyrod Taylor, who made a Pro Bowl. Lamar Jackson came in and took over from Joe Flacco. They've had decent quarterback play. So I just wanted to see if these teams or in this fan base had good, competent quarterback play leading up to when these rookies had to play. And then combined division opponent record above 500 was a no. And this was the weird one that I went to, and I had to go into I had to go and research these for each team. For both the average and for each of these prospects who they're currently on. And I had to look up what their offensive scheme was, and I just wanted to see what the most frequent offensive scheme ran by these quarterbacks were. And I didn't choose. The numbers spat out that it was the West Coast system is the most run system for those quarterbacks I picked out, the 16. And then finally, the rush offense being a top 16 was also a yes. Got it? I'll probably put a graphic up while I'm talking about this, just so that way you're not lost. But first up, we have Matt Corral. He had a no for first-year head coach with Matt Rule. He had a no for Pro Bowl wide receiver on the roster, which DJ Moore definitely should be a Pro Bowl wide receiver. He had a no for a Pro Bowl offensive line. He had a yes for first-year offensive coordinator. He had a yes for expectations to start year one. I do believe Matt Corral is going to be forced to start eventually in the season once Sam Darnold gets hurt or there's just bad quarterback play and things like that. I think that is the plan for him going forward. So that is why I gave him a yes in that category. He had a yes for top 16 defense. He had a no for being in the top 16 of sacks allowed. He had a yes for a Pro Bowl quarterback on the roster over the previous 3 seasons, whether that was Cam Newton. I believe Teddy Bridgewater had a Pro Bowl on his resume, but Cam Newton was the one I was really looking at. And then his division opponents did combine for over 500. He does run the West Coast offense, and he did not have a top 16 rushing offense. So he finished with a 4 out of 11. Bailey Zappi. He had a no for first-year head coach, obviously Bill Belichick, so that was a plus. He had a no for Pro Bowl wide receiver on his roster his rookie season, going into this upcoming season while he's a rookie. So that was a knock against him. He does have a Pro Bowl lineman, which is a plus for him. He does have a first-year offensive coordinator, which is a knock against him. He does not have the expectations to start year one, which is a knock against him. He does have a top 16 defense, which is a knock against him. He is playing for a team that finished in top 16 in sacks allowed, which is a point for him. He did have a quarterback on his roster that in the past three previous seasons that wasn't a Pro Bowler, whether that's going to be Mac Jones as an alternate or Tom Brady. You can take your pick. No, his opponents were not, or I'm sorry. Yeah, no, his opponents did not combine to above 500, which is a positive for him. No, he does not run the West Coast offense, and yes, his rushing offense was top 16, finishing with a respectable grade of 6 out of 11. Kenny Pickett, no, to a first-year head coach. Yes, Pro Bowl wide receiver. No Pro Bowl O-lineman. No first-year offensive coordinator. Not expected to start year one. I think that's Trubisky's job to lose, and I expect him to play most of the year. No, his defense was not top 16 last year going into the season. Yes, the team was top 16 in sacks allowed. Yes, there was a Pro Bowl quarterback on the roster the past previous seasons. Yes, his division did combine for over 500. His opponents did. No, he does not run the West Coast offensive system. And no, his team is not top 16 in rushing. So that was another respectable 6 out of 11. We are now moving to the 7 out of 11s. We have Malik Willis had a no for first-year head coach. He had a no for a Pro Bowl wide receiver since they just traded A.J. Brown. He has a yes for a Pro Bowl offensive lineman. He has a no for first-year offensive coordinator. He had a no for expectations to start year one. I think Ryan Tannehill really has that job entrenched, and the fact that he was drafted in the third round really shows that they think that he's a long-term project kind of thing to take over from Tannehill when his contract runs out. He had a yes for top 16 defense. He had a no for top 16 sack allowed offense. He had a yes for a Pro Bowl quarterback on the roster for the past previous 3 seasons. He had a no for a combined division opponent record above 500. He had a yes for the offensive scheme of West Coast. And he had a yes for rush offense being top 16, finishing with a 7 out of 11. Next up is Sam Howell for the Washington Commanders. He has a no for first-year head coach, a no for Pro Bowl wide receiver, a yes for Pro Bowl offensive lineman. Real quick, how has Terry McLaurin not made a Pro Bowl or as an alternate or something? He has a no for first-year offensive coordinator. He has a no for expectations to start year one. I think that's Wentz's job, and they have Heineke on the roster. He has a no for top 16 defense last season. He has a no for team in the top 16 for sacks allowed. He has a yes for a Pro Bowl quarterback in the previous 3 seasons. Alex Smith was a quarterback there as well. As I don't think Carson Wentz has one, but I know Alex Smith definitely does. He has a no for a combined division opponent record above 500. He has a no for the West Coast offensive scheme. And he has a yes for rush offense top 16 to finish with a respectable 7 out of 11. So now it's back down to our finalists, the guys who each have collected a point. Carson Strong, who matched the trend lines for Measurables, and Desmond Ridder, who matched the trend lines for the ESPN Insider grading. Which one of them matched the trend lines for these situations, and what will the trend lines? Who will the trend lines pick as the quarterback who will be the breakout star for this draft class? Carson Strong and Desmond Ridder both do not have first-year head coaches. Carson Strong and Desmond Ridder both have Pro Bowl wide receivers. Carson Strong and Desmond Ridder both have Pro Bowl offensive linemen. Carson Strong does have a first-year offensive coordinator, while Desmond Ridder does not. Carson Strong is not expected to start year one, whereas Desmond Ridder most likely is, so I gave him a yes. Desmond Ridder does not have a top 16 defense, whereas Carson Strong did. Carson Strong did have a top 16 sacks allowed offense, whereas Desmond Ridder did not. Carson Strong had no quarterback over the previous 3 seasons that made a Pro Bowl, whereas Desmond Ridder did. The combined opponent division record, Carson Strong's was a no, and Desmond Ridder's was a yes. Their offensive schemes, both West Coast. So it comes down to the final category, whether I did this wrong. It was supposed to be this big dramatic finish. But yeah, Desmond Ridder does not have a top 16 rushing offense, where Carson Strong does. So Carson Strong does finish with a 7-11, and Desmond Ridder finishes with 8 of 11, taking the final 2 categories and being the quarterback that the trend lines have decided will be the most successful coming out of the 2022 NFL Draft. Which kind of matches my scouting report of Desmond Ridder myself. Was I always saw the talent, and I wanted to like him a lot more than I did. Me and Caleb Pro 88 shared that a lot whenever we talked about Desmond Ridder. Is like, he's a player that you saw the potential, and you saw the winning pedigree, and you saw the the skill he showed on the field, he wasn't able to put it together accuracy-wise and things like that. And the trend lines are saying, hey, what you saw is going to be good, according to previous records and things like that. I am debating going through and then testing and see what the negatives, like the big-time bust quarterbacks, kind of trend lined out as. But for right now, this is the end of our positive trend line. I still do believe Malik Willis will be the best quarterback out of this draft class. Kenny Pickett will also be good. And this has given me a little reinforcement that maybe Desmond Ridder might be able to put something together after a year behind Marcus Mariota and probably starting a little bit in the 2022 season. How do you feel the trend lines were interpreted? Do you think I could have added anything more to these or changed my process a little bit? Again, this is the first time I'm doing this, and I'm expecting to do it next year again. I enjoyed doing this. It was a good way to spend the rest of the day after I got out of my exam. I'm expecting myself to put out a lot more content now that my exams are about to be finished, and I've kind of detoxed from really focusing on the draft for the last 2 weeks. So I'm expecting to put out a lot more. If you're excited for that, go ahead and subscribe and be sure to come back. We're going to be doing another quiz bowl soon, as well. I'm going to start dabbling in some top 10s and other kind of quiz related content, as well as some other research projects like this. So if you enjoyed this, go ahead, subscribe, hit a like, and just share this around. We're getting close to the 200 subscriber mark. I still owe everybody a video of me getting put through a table for my Drew Lock bet almost 2 years ago, as well as eating the hottest wings in Buffalo, New York, my hometown, to celebrate having 100 subscribers. So stay tuned for that, especially now that school's out, and I will catch you guys in the next video.